Mr. Winship, thank you very much for your testimony. Now we're going to begin the questions. Let me begin my questioning with former Secretary of Labor, Bob Reich. Mr. Secretary, according to your testimony, 50 years ago, General Motors was the largest employer in America, where the typical worker belonged to a union and made $35 an hour after adjusting for inflation. Today, America's largest employer is Walmart, where over half their workforce makes less than $15 an hour, and none of their workers belong to a union. How has the decline in union membership contributed to the increase in income inequality?
Mr. Chairman, one of the most dramatic changes in the United States over the past 60 years has been the decline in the percentage of private sector workers who are unionized. 60 years ago, even in fact 50 years ago, 1/3 of all private sector workers belonged to a union. That gave them bargaining power at the firm level. It gave them a voice at the firm level. It also gave them political power, because when you consider 1/3 of all workers unionized, the unionized segment of the workforce actually had a political voice. Now today, by contrast to 50 years ago, only 6.4% of private sector workers are unionized, which means that at the level of the firm, there is almost no union presence in most firms. At the level of national politics, the union voice is far less. The working class voice is far less. And so in both respects and at both levels, you get this severe imbalance. In the 1950s, we talked about the countervailing power represented by American labor unions, countervailing to the great power of American corporations. Countervailing power is now gone. There is almost no countervailing power left. And so it's not that the GM worker was that much more brilliant or productive, or the GM worker was so much better prepared than the Walmart worker. No. The difference really was that the GM worker had a union behind him or her, and the Walmart worker does not.
All right, with that, I'm going to have to interrupt you, and I apologize, but I want to ask some of the other panelists a question. Let me go to Jennifer Bates. Ms. Bates, let me ask you a very simple question. And why do you believe it is so important for you and your co-workers to have a union at the Amazon facility in Bessemer, Alabama? Why is that so important?
It's important because we need an equal playing field. For so long, people have been walking away from jobs because of the disrespect, inequality, and nobody has actually stood up to say, you know what, it's time for someone to be held accountable for what they're doing. Amazon has a sign that sits outside and says, if you see something, say something. So we decided to stand up and say something. We need better work conditions. We need a better wage for living. We need job security. So it's important for us that the union come in so that Amazon will have the opportunity then to sit down and talk to us and with us to get these issues resolved.
Okay. Thank you very, very much. Let me ask Ms. Anderson a question. Ms. Anderson, according to your testimony, in 1980, CEOs of large corporations made about 42 times more than their average worker. Today, CEOs now make over 300 times more than their average worker. Very briefly, how did that happen?
Well, it didn't happen because CEOs just got a whole lot smarter during that time period. On the worker end, it's happened because wages have stagnated as unions have declined, as we've already discussed. On the CEO pay end, it's happened because stock-based pay has come to dominate CEO pay packages. And the argument there was that shifting to stock-based pay would ensure pay for performance. And that has really turned into a joke. Study after after study shows there's no connection between CEO pay levels and their performance. And one of the most obvious examples was after the 2008 financial crash, when companies gave boatloads of new stock options to their executives when the market was at bottom. And very quickly, those stock options ballooned in value as a result of a taxpayer-fueled recovery, not because of any brilliant executive performance.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, and my time has expired. Senator Graham.